diametrical difference between music and reality, they can be compromised on the energetic level when it comes to the music, the negative frequencies of it. So that's why, you know, due to energy transfer, that's why a lot of times I remember back in college when certain songs come on and you had a lot of people in the area, you know, they start fighting.
Right.
So
right.
It just depends on the energy of the people that surround you.
I definitely agree.
Do you think musicians are the most powerful programmers in the world? Like there's religion in that program, there's television, there's movies, you know, there's different things that people watch or give their attention to that programs them. Do you think musicians are the most powerful programmers, that thus making them the most powerful people on the planet?
Think about it. Words are worlds. Words are worlds. So the mastery of the English language has steps to it. Keep in mind, on the steps of the Masonic pyramid, where's music? Second to the top. Second to the top. Yeah, second to the top. When they talk about Lucifer and whatnot, what was he a master at? What?
Music.
At the music. So if you could take word and turn it into song, you're actually singing. Now you turn it into a melodic frequency, right? There's no on this where remember, we're talking about from day one. Before there was anything else, there was the word. So the master of the word, mastering the word and prose and with the poetry, when you're mastering the word and you could paint pictures with the words, and then when you could go beyond painting the picture with the words, and you could put the words in rhyme. By putting the words in a rhyme, you're putting it actually in spell form. That's how you cast spells. And then when you put it on the drum or on the beat, that's when you accelerate it. And now when you speak through these microphones, you know the power of the microphone, right? You a producer. So you know how microphones have accelerated the quote unquote the word. The word. If a perfect mix on a song is made and whatnot, and the word could be heard and is layered correctly on a sound bed, you have yourself what is known as a hit. It's nothing more powerful than that. You casting spells, you telling people what it is, you terraforming reality. I watch Biggie Smalls, Tupac Shakur, and some of my favorite rappers like Wu-Tang terraform my perception of reality. I don't know what the whole world was doing, but I know the reality is based on perception, and they terraformed everything around me with their words, bro. No politician could do that. The people on TV is cool and everything. Movies have a big impact, but they be sweating the musicians though.
Yeah, they do. The basketball, everybody is,
the musician is the magician.
The musicians,
yeah, the musician is the magician.
Yeah, BDELL, you want to chime in on that question? Do you think musicians are the most powerful people on the planet?
No, like I agree with what he was saying as far as a producer. Producer has a lot more hands-on experience on how to cultivate a certain sound. So you also got, due to the fact that the great majority of music that's being, amplified in our generation, what's missing is the soul essence of the music. Just like, back in the early 2000s, you had the like Dipset, they had the soul samples and stuff like that. You don't really hear a lot of that in the music,
right? Because
the soul samples, when you amalgamate it with the modern day sound, it can basically dematerialize a lot of the afflictions that go on in our generation, because it's not propagating gangsterism, or it's not propagating sexual proclivities and things of that nature. So I agree. The embodiment of the sound that the producer puts in the music basically is the foundation of what takes place in society.
That is a fact. The producer is the time traveler. You the one who prepared the time machine. It's not the artist who's writing the rhyme. You don't time travel through the word. You build world. You could build world. You'll build worlds, and you paint pictures with the word. But it's the beat, it's the music that takes you back in time. Why did they outlaw, or why did they stop the samples? Why? Because when the 90s baby, remember, if you a 90s baby or if you were 2000 babies, and I put the 70s sample in a hit like the Jamie Foxx, yeah, shout out to Jamie, and the Ye song and whatnot, you go back in time. Oh, you know Peasy song? Was it the well, we heard it on the call. We was together. The dude from Detroit, Peasy. You going back in time. That's a bop right there. So now I'm a 90s baby. I'm not connected to the 70s. The soul takes me back in time to the 70s. I'm checking out that music. When I hear the real song, I'm like, oh, I heard that before. Oh, that's that. The samples are magical. We needed, that was our connection. So remember, the fathers, this hip hop is 50 years old. The originators, right? The primals, the architects of this thing, that is their sound, bro. They grew up to real soul music, and soul music, like BDELL was saying, is real music. If the children hear that, if the babies hear that, if these 2000 babies, imagine a child that grew up hearing nothing but DMX or nothing but NBA Youngboy in the womb, or nothing but Boozy Badass. I'm going to give you the whole lineage of them. Let's talk in terms of Gremlin, and no disrespect to anybody. I'm not trying to call nobody out of their name in a sense like that, because I don't want to defame anybody. However, people know the movie Gremlin, right? So in the movie Gremlin, you understand the concept of Gizmo, Stripe, and everything that came from Stripe, right? So think in terms of Gizmo as being an artist who was not compromised. Or you could think of Gizmo as an artist who, when rap first came out, they wasn't necessarily talking about their quote unquote private and their secret life to the extent that these rappers are confessing on wax right now and giving you the darkest secrets and whatnot, and telling you details about their private and their secret life that nobody should know in the public. Especially people that you kill, torture, and do horrible things to. So then you have Stripe. Stripe is when Gizmo went completely dark. Stripe is Gizmo's shadow, right? Stripe is on Demon Time. And out of the backs of Stripe come many. Out of one comes many, right? We don't die. We do what?
Multiply.
So going back to what I was saying before, you got to be able to identify primary source. Who is NBA Youngboy? NBA Youngboy is a gremlin, but he comes from the stripe of Boozy Badass, who's born on my birthday. Hey.
To this day, you don't find that suspicious. To this day, you don't find that suspicious.
I know what kind of of darkness a Boozy Badass has inside of him, because he was born on my birthday. I just know from a scorpionic perspective, if I were to tilt myself into my dark side the way that he has, I know what that's capable of. He's born on my day. So Kevin Gates and Boozy Badass would be the quote unquote parents of that style of that rapper that you see called NBA Youngboy today, right? He's an offshoot of that. There are many gremlins of Lil Wayne running around in the music industry. One of them is named Young Thug. And from him, many have come from, right? And they just keep multiplying and multiplying. It is attached to a certain egregor. It is attached to a certain dark energy. I could even identify it in Jamaica. You have a man called Vibes Cartel.
Facts.
When you go and pull up, yo, can I share my screen real quick? I mean, I don't want to turn this into a lecture or nothing, brother, but there's sometimes people got to see things. Matter of fact, I'm gonna do a keynote tonight on my thing, because I don't want to take up people's time tonight. I'll do it on Melanin Monday, right? But I want y'all to see the faces of these young men. Hold on real quick. I want you to see what possession looks like. We have to be real with ourselves. How is it that regular people could get hexes on them and be possessed, but artists can't? Talk to me. Like these are multi-billionaires and millionaires, and they're around. They have millions of people, and when they're involved in things like murder, when they're involved in things like killing off your other people's favorite artists and stuff like that, you have no idea what could be done to them in the spirit realm. When I look at pictures of some of these artists, I'm like, oh nah, You're hearing the frequency of a demon. They're really on demon time because I could see possession in them. I could see the possession in them. Some of these artists may have to have got work done so they could have stayed alive. Do you know some of the stories of some of these people? The shit sounds, it reads from a whatchamacallit, from an H.P. Lovecraft novel.
And speaking on demon time, if you also, when you look at the great majority, see, I was born, in the 90s, so the great majority, kids in my generation, our parents listen to R&B music, so you could produce a love child with R&B music, and now, you fast forward to my generation, a lot of these children are being made through trap music, drill music, because the cymatic octave frequency in itself of the music can basically compromise the energy of the child when it's being born. So now you can understand why these kids are on demon time, because they weren't made out of love. You know what I'm saying?
Excellent point. I want to ask now about the relationship between music and water. We heard Dr. Emoto, the Japanese gentleman, who talked about, he would talk to water and say words like love or hate. And, they use technology where they would freeze it and show a picture and it was like crystallized and stuff like that. So we know that a lot of people know the science of talking to our water. What do you think about actually taking it up a level and instead of talking to our water, starting to play music to our water? Do you think that would have a higher, more effective impact on the water we drink if instead of just talking to it, now we started to play music to it?
I think if a brand branded itself as a warehouse that supercharges all of its water with the 432 hertz, they would become one of the top water brands in the game.
I would. You just gave a business. Woo! $1 million idea. Woo!
Yeah,
$1 million idea.
Talk nice. Okay. Yeah. For anybody that runs with that, we're gonna timestamp this. Just do it. Do what you got to do. Do what's right, because the universe is watching. It ain't on me after that. But I threw one at you. Very important, my brother. Highly of one of the most highest of importance at this moment, I would feel, because it seems like things are running out, that things are becoming a little more limited in the realms of what is actually real. So what is the most important thing at this point in time when it's all about sharp mental aptitude at this moment, at this very moment? I have no idea. We don't know what's coming down the pipeline. And yesterday already happened. Shout out to Glorilla. You know what I mean? But tomorrow, right now, it's about having your mind super sharp. So I would highly suggest that everybody begin doing that. And charge your body as well, because you're 70% water. But go ahead.
But yeah, as I was saying, when it also correlates to the water as well. When I was talking about the 72 sigils of demons of Ars Goetia, well, those when you look at some of those sigils, like I said, it mimics the patterns of certain cymatic frequencies that's in the music. So it depends on what interval that the music is playing at. Like I said, these demonic forces, they can attach onto your spirit and use you for a certain agenda. So that's what I'm saying. Like as he was saying, play the music at a certain level to where it can raise up your vibration.
Definitely.
Indeed.
Hold on. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rich.
Okay, right. Good.
No, I just wanted to add on to what the good brother's saying, and something that we can do immediately, because I never want to be the person that goes so deep into what we're talking about that we make people feel ashamed or feel like, oh, it's over. I've been listening to trap all my life. What we could do is what we could do right now. And what we could do right now is every night before you go to sleep, make sure you have the 432 hertz or the binaural beats. Wash the aura, wash the mind. When the body is recharging and uploading all of the memory and whatnot to the to your higher self, you want the quote unquote frequency of tranquility to surround you. Don't have your phone next to you, have it somewhere else, or have a speaker set up brother Rich has a manifestation, quote unquote. You might not have known that. The brother has a whole album. Listen to that. Just put it on loop. So that's one of the ways, especially for our young ones as well. They should have small speakers put in the room. After the bedtime story, just turn the 432 of the binaurals up so very low and whatnot, and charge them like crystals. That is something you could do for free. It's sufficient, and we all can make it happen right now. It's not against your religion. It's not against anything. Begin to charge your house up. Put them speakers in the corners and whatnot. The speakers, not the big ones. I mean, if you want it loud, whatever, but you know, set up that sound temple.
You know, we often talk about the revolutionaries like Malcolm X and you know, Khalid Muhammad, Marcus Garvey, and how the government, you know, they monitor them, they attack them. Do you think the government monitor and attacks the soul singers, the R&B singers, just as much as BDELL says, you know, the soul music, and he was talking about the R&B music? Do you think the top dudes, like let's say a Marvin Gaye, let's say I don't want to use the name, let's say R. Kelly, even though I'm not talking about the crazy shit he did, but just in terms of his effectiveness with R&B, but do you think these R&B guys is just as revolutionary as a Marvin Gaye because they're programming the people with music?
Three questionable deaths real quick. James Brown. Go and look it up. James Brown went to the hospital, went to the dentist. He didn't go on Christmas. He didn't go for intestine issues. He didn't go for heart issues. He was going to get his teeth checked. Never checked out. Prince, still very questionable. Michael Jackson. Let's go further. Whitney Houston. Right? And then let's go into Sam Cooke. And then let's go a little bit further into the multitudes of our people who we watch on shows like Unsung. Where are they now? It's almost the same story every single time. There was an agent of the CIA. Their agent who comes to find out, or their manager, somebody in their inner circle was working with them people and always keeping tabs on them and whatnot. So one of the things that the CIA talks about is called TIM, time, energy, and money and whatnot. And when they are working on infiltrating a target of theirs, they make sure that they try to manipulate their time, because once they take those out of order and they throw off your homeostasis, like when you got all of your time, you got all of your energy, and you got all your money, right? That's when you start moving mountains. But then when they put you in Strava's mode, you go from Strava's to survival. So who comes in? The IRS. Who comes in? Family court and whatnot. All of these different agencies work together to begin to mess up your flow, mess up your confidence, mess up your creativity, right? And then they could set you up to get you knocked off with the overdose, right? It's so many unsolved murders. It's so many suspected, quote unquote, just last minute deaths, sudden deaths of megastars. And let's not talk about the rappers, where those murders were suspect, like a Tupac and a Biggie. That's highly suspect.
XXX as well.
XXX as well. Come to find out one day when we get older that some of those was hits that was paid by them people, bro. If you got YSL Woody and them being debriefed, and he's talking to the popo casually about the bodies that he caught, you think if they got these people coming, they shaving off 100 years for some of these rats. You don't think that they out there drilling for them? I think so. I will not put it past them. I will not put it past them. So I feel that they even know the messianic ones amongst us. They know about the messiahs. They know about the black or more messiahs. They can read your DNA. You understand? Don't think that they're not doing biogenetics. Don't think that they're not doing genealogy. Don't think that they're not doing the genome of every single one of these artists. That's why they lock them all up and make sure they have their DNA. If they didn't get it from a tied up condom from one of their assets, who there are a lot of sex workers that are CIA. You might be running around with your little thotties and whatnot, or what you call a baddie, then she's an asset. Because that's where the CIA works. They say that they work the best on your private self, and in your private self, they deal with your sexual proclivities. They know what you like. They know your kinks. They know everything that you're into, and they will send them to you. And then when they get you vulnerable and you start leaking the news, you introduce them to your secret self, and it's game over after that. And they've been able to run this country on that principle. So don't talk to me about, oh, that's you know, that's a theory. No, that's how they control. That's how they've been running espionage, which is a top of the line business globally, not just here, globally. So they're doing it in hip hop, of course. And yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you, because the great majority of these producers, or the bodyguards, they really are masquerading as agents. So they, like I said, they surveillance them. You know, you got people on payroll and they don't even know that these people are working behind the scenes with Masonic orders, and just to keep tabs on them in case they leak out certain information through the music. So,
super facts. Mossad, look at Ye's handler. You know what I'm talking about? You know what I mean? Everybody around them is compromised. It's rare that they that's why the music industry is so let in. They let people in. You just can't go in there. They'll be like, nah, he can't go with you.
Facts.
Everybody is an actor. Remember, this is all theater. I don't ever want nobody to tell me about, oh, this rapper is not this and not that. Listen, retard, they're giving you their public face, and so are you. We don't know who your secret and your private self is. This is all a game, bro. This is all theater. They're on the stage and you're not. You know what I'm talking about? Let these people play their role. I don't need them to be a killer or whatever you want them to be. They're playing a role. This is their public face. This is their character. You doing a stanky leg to their music. You diddy bop into it. And if you not, then somebody else is. But with that being said, they're also following a script.